Hey Sioux Falls, we're here for another street construction update, and we're taking a look inside on this episode, and we're just going to kind of highlight some major projects that are continuing and kind of look back on the history of each one of these projects. Our first project update is on Cliff Avenue from 49th Street to 56th Street, and we welcome back Ross from Stockwell. Ross, we are inside now.
Yes, being outside in the rain for
Yes,
sure.
exactly. All right, so lots of stuff has happened on Cliff Avenue since our last visit, and it looks like there's concrete down.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that.
So just in the last 2 weeks, the contractor was able to pave the 2 outside lanes going southbound, and then earlier this week paved the 2 northbound lanes, and then kind of in between there they did the middle lanes where there is a 5th lane. So all the main concrete work on Cliff Avenue is now done.
Oh, wonderful.
We've got a few intersection tie-ins to complete, and then I think the driveways on the west side are mostly complete up to now too. But there'll still be quite a bit of concrete work left on the east side of the road.
So on our last episode, we talked a little bit about there was a cement shortage on some of our other projects. Did you guys have any material delays or anything with your project?
Not really. We were kind of warned about that, and TNR, was upfront about that potential for delays and stuff with the concrete shortage. But they were able to schedule far enough ahead where it wasn't really a factor for us.
Oh, good. So the embankment, of course, it really looks different when
Yes.
drivers are going to drive through there. So is the contractor still working on the slope?
Yes, there will still be some fill to place, particularly on the north end of the project on the west side. So you'll see some fill continuously being built up in that area. But
Okay.
the rest of the embankment going south is pretty much done.
So the contractor met his obligation of getting 1 lane in each direction open before school starts. Then was there an incentive with that at all?
There was not an incentive on that. That was just a contract requirement for them to meet. So yeah, as of next week, they'll be open to traffic and just in time for school to start.
Awesome. So no major changes from the drivers, and for the next month, there'll be 1 lane in each direction, and the contractor will still be working adjacent to the lanes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And final completion of the project is?
Not till sometime in November.
Okay, so we still got a ways to go yet.
Yes.
All right, well, very good. Well, thanks so much for your update.
All right, you're welcome.
All right, well, our next project update is, of course, one of my favorites, 41st Street and Interstate 29 Diverging Diamond. That has certainly been a hot topic, of course, this summer. We welcome back James Unruh from HDR. James, we are excited to see this project really moving along nicely. And it certainly took a long time to get there. But what's our contractor working on this coming month?
They're going to be focusing on 41st Street, east of Marion Road.
Okay. Oh, wow. East of Marion Road.
East of Marion Road,
Are
so between the Interstate and Marion Road, yes.
Okay, good. So is all of the underground work done then?
Yes, and they're going to be just doing paving now the rest of the year here.
So are they ahead of schedule?
Well, according to the contractor, they're about a 1 month ahead of schedule.
Okay.
They're anticipating opening Marion Road at the middle to end of September, and they beat that by a month. It opened a month ahead of schedule, so that's very positive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And are they are all lanes of Marion Road open then, or are there still some closures?
It's 1 lane in each direction with a left turn lane.
Okay.
So they're still doing like some sidewalk work on the outsides yet of Marion Road.
Okay. So as far as 41st Street then to the west of the interstate, it looks like they'll have all of that completed then by the time snow flies, do you think?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And the contractor is considering building the west side ramps this year if the fall weather is nice at all.
And what about the work that's adjacent to the interstate, that storm drainage work? Is that work also going on? Is it complete?
They have a new concrete line channel all the way done from 41st Street down to 49th.
Okay.
And the next little piece is from 49th to 57th. So it's about 75% done is what the contractor is telling us. And that will be done probably within the next month or so as well.
Okay. Great, great, great. Well, we certainly have been talking about this project for so long, and it's nice to see it finally coming to fruition. Is there any surprises that have happened from the design phase to the construction phase that you're like, wow, how did we that was really a surprise. You know, certainly when you take off the concrete surface of anything, you just don't know what you're going to get. Were there any major surprises on the corridor so far?
You know, not anything that was a dramatic change that we had to make during construction. We had to make small adjustments, but we tried to plan for that during the design. We tried to make it flexible enough so that if something was found that we weren't anticipating, that we can make adjustments during construction, and that's what we've done.
Oh, good.
So that's been very positive.
Oh, good. So as far as the signals at Marion and at Terry, do we have any material delays on putting up those ultimate signals, or will those be done temporaries until next year, or?
The temporary signals are up, and yes, there is a material delay, you might say, and they're expecting to have the materials in sometime in mid-September. So it's going to be until about that time before the permanent signals get put up.
All right. Well, on the east side of the interstate, then that work will still be planned for 2023, correct?
Yes, work on the bridge itself, on the top of the bridge, and then everything east of I-29 will be in 2023, so that'll be coming up next year.
And they'll still have the one lane in each direction, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what can our Christmas shoppers expect this winter? I mean, will there still be orange barrels on the street, or do you think it'll be as much open to traffic, all lanes open to traffic for Christmas?
The intent is that it will be open to whatever the conditions were before the project started.
Okay.
So we will have 3 lanes paved in each direction on 41st Street between the Interstate and Marion Road, but we'll probably only open 2 of them because there's only 2 lanes to get to east of the interchange anyway.
Okay.
But that's at the very least, it will be the same as it was before we ever started construction.
Okay, great. Well, that's good news. So one of my last questions is I always like to see, you know, as we start construction, and the relationship that we established or we created with all of the property owners. I mean, you and I have been to so many public meetings regarding this project. How has the relationship then, as it continues through the construction? I mean, has there been a lot of communication, positive on, you know, how great the contractor's doing? What have you been hearing?
Boy, what I've been hearing is so positive.
Great.
People say that the contractor is out there working so hard, and every day that you drive by through there, there's 20 to 30 to 40 people every time you drive through there, and people notice that. The landowners notice that, and the traveling public notices that, and so there's more patience then when they see people working on the project. And also, the whole team has been very receptive to anything that the landowners bring to us. You know, if they have a question or a concern, we respond to it very quickly. So, boy, I couldn't say that it could go any better from the landowner's perspective.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
Yes.
And remind our viewers again about the website and all. What is the website address that they can go to for any information?
We just have it 41stddi.com, and that has now 3 live traffic cams, so it's really a fun site to watch the construction taking place.
Yes, I find myself there a lot.
Yes.
All right, well, you know, as far as Diverging Diamonds, I know every time it seems like I go out of state, I happen to drive through one. Can you remind our drivers and our viewers why a DDI or Diverging Diamond was so important at this interchange?
What it does is it takes the left turners and it reduces the number of signals they go through. They don't have to go through opposing traffic to make those left turns. And that's the biggest movements at this interchange. So many left turners going north on I-29 and then again going south on I-29. And in this case, you eliminate them going through another signal and having to cross opposing traffic.
Great.
So I think it'll be very good for all of the traffic movements along 41st Street.
Well, wonderful. Well, is there anything else you'd like to say about the project that I might have missed?
Boy, you've pretty much gotten everything. Again, it's just people have been very patient. We thank the drivers for their patience because there's construction vehicles and construction workers right beside the traffic lanes, and what I've observed is that people are patient.
Good.
And we really appreciate that. They see a lot going on, and we have had no accidents that I'm aware of or injuries or anything like that. So we just want to thank the landowners and traveling public for their patience.
Yeah, absolutely, totally. I can duplicate that. So, well, thank you so much. It was so great to talk to you again about the project.
You bet. Thanks, Shannon.
Well, our next project update is out on the east side of the city. It's at Arrowhead Parkway and the 6 Mile Road realignment. We've spent a lot of time talking about Arrowhead Parkway, and our lead designer Chad Hanish from Infrastructure Design Group has certainly spent a lot of time out on Arrowhead Parkway.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show.
Yep, thank you.
So we've been out on Arrowhead and 6 Mile Road probably the last couple episodes. There's just a lot of grading that's going on. Can you kind of give us an update on what's going to happen in the next month?
Sure. Yep. As you said, there's been a lot of grading happening because that first phase is focused on the north side of the existing highway there because the new roadway is north of the existing highway for the most part. As we come through the intersection, that starts to come back to the south and align with the existing roadway. So a lot of dirt work there. 6 Mile Road itself is open to traffic. And then there's a box culvert that's basically installed east of 6 Mile Road. So there's still a closure happening there. And they'll be installing the MSC retaining walls adjacent to that box culvert over the next month to get that open back up also. So
those retaining walls are on Arrowhead or on 6 Mile Road?
On Arrowhead.
Okay.
Yep.
So is the portion of Arrowhead between 6 Mile Road then and Willow Run still closed, or is that open to?
No, that's the portion that is still closed.
Okay.
So that's where that box culvert was installed and the MSC walls are going up.
And there's certainly a lot of water that goes through there on rain events, isn't there?
Yep,
and that's by that old railroad trestle, is that right?
Railroad trestle on the north side and that existing pond on the south side.
So how is the grading work then on the realignment of Arrowhead? Is it nearing completion on to the west of 6 Mile Road?
Yep, they've got the majority of that dirt work done. Utilities are installed. So a little bit more grading and then the gravel, and then they can focus on the actual concrete surfacing from there.
Wonderful. So we will see some lanes then this year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's good news. How many lanes do you think?
We'll have at least the 1 lane in each direction paved. So there might be additional lanes that are paved, but we'll just have the 1 lane in each direction to accommodate traffic.
Okay. So then the wintertime, our folks can expect to have at least 1 lane in each direction on 6 Mile as well as on Arrowhead Parkway?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then looking forward to next summer, how long will this impact our drivers next year?
The final completion date is towards the end of September of next year, and so we'll be able to switch traffic over to that new pavement, and they can focus on that south half of the new roadway.
Okay. Well, it's a big project, so it has to, take some time. So then looking forward in the next couple of years, then of course I get calls and concerns all the time. Well, when are you going to do Veterans Parkway and Arrowhead Parkway? Now that certainly is a big project also. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is a large project. The intersection of Veterans and Arrowhead it'll be the largest intersection in the state.
Wow.
It'll be 10 lanes, so 3 through lanes in each direction. We'll actually have it designed for triple lefts in every direction, and then designated rights. So very large intersection that we'll have to lower about 5 feet.
Okay.
Pedestrian underpasses on the south side, east side, and north side of that intersection.
Wow.
And probably important to point out that the reason why we really liked the idea of doing 6th and Arrowhead first is once that's done, it'll provide a good detour route because there's so much work to be done in that intersection of Veterans that it'll be a closure of some kind, certain time frame.
Okay. And with that, that's a pretty big impact then to to lower that. Will it be closed for the full 2 years, do you think, or we just don't know those answers yet?
We don't know the full timeline, but obviously it's a busy intersection, so we're going to want to try and minimize it as much as possible.
So then there'll be 6 lanes then through the intersection and then transitioning down to the 4 lanes further to the east, right?
Yep, correct.
All right, so that would be complete when then?
We anticipate construction being maybe late 23, but most likely into 24 and take all of 24.
Okay.
Yep.
And then being complete in maybe 25, or do you think?
Yeah, it may extend into 25 because again, there's a lot going on there.
Okay. So then we also have a project that's way east. We have the Arrowhead and Veterans. You have 6 Mile and Arrowhead, and then further to the east of 26th Street and Arrowhead. Tell us what we're doing out there.
So that one, similar to going west, will be improved to 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction. There'll be a center median for a lot of that portion. Project limits of that one are basically from where we end the current project, which is the Willow Run entrance, and it'll go east to the other side of the bridge. The bridge will get widened, the bridge that crosses the Big Sioux River, and then we'll terminate just on the east side of the bridge.
Okay.
And then the DOT has a future project beyond that takes it all the way out to the Iowa border.
Wow, a lot of work going on.
Yep.
But for our immediate area, it'll be the 4 or the 6 to 4 lanes, at least out to like where Highway 11 goes north to Brandon?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, there's a lot going on out there, but there's a lot of traffic out there.
Yeah. So do you know when that project would be then for the next phase of Arrowhead?
So that would probably then be at the end of our veteran one that would finish in 25. So this one would probably start in about 25 and wrap up in 26.
Okay, so a lot of challenges for our drivers coming into Sioux Falls just to keep up with a lot of detours probably.
Yeah, for this corridor, it is one of the only routes from Iowa into Sioux Falls, so there's a lot of traffic on it.
Right. So talk a little bit about the pedestrian and bike movements along our corridor. What type of improvements are we adding with these projects?
Yep, a lot. I mean, I mentioned the underpasses that will be constructed at the Veterans intersection. So we'll have 3 underpasses there for pedestrians and bike trail, and then that'll have connectivity. So that would extend on the north side of Arrowhead Parkway.
Okay.
There's some development occurring on the north side that will also accommodate a trail kind of along the drainage way, and that'd get you to 6 Mile Road, where we'd continue the trail on the north side of Arrowhead, basically to that Willow Run, and then continuing on to that next project gets us to the 26th Street intersection, which will cross and get people over on the south side, and then all the way to Arrowhead Park and the Arboretum. We'd have another underpass closer to the Arboretum to get people connected to both parks.
Right. So we definitely have destinations out there to get to. Oh, wonderful. So a lot of upcoming work. It's just again with as we were talking with James, patience with our drivers and our bike and peds. It takes time to get there, but we're on our way.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for your update, and we are going to talk about South Veterans Parkway next.
All right.
Well, our last bit on today's show is an update on the project South Veterans Parkway. We welcome Steve Hoff from HDR, who's our project manager with me on South Veterans Parkway. Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
So to just take us back a little bit for those that aren't aware of where South Veterans Parkway started from. In 2020, the City of Sioux Falls and the DOT signed an agreement to complete South Veterans Parkway from 57th Street all the way over to Interstate 29. That was basically our kickoff to say, yep, let's get this next phase done. We had just opened up Veterans Parkway all the way up to Interstate 90, which we had a tremendous amount of traffic that opened on opening day. It was great. But let's take us back on the very beginning of the overall East Side Corridor, or Highway 100, or Veterans Parkway. Take our viewers back to when it first actually started.
Well, I believe it actually started, and Shannon, you were from the beginning. It started in the mid-90s, mid to late 90s, and the city, in their forward thinking, was looking at, okay, the city's growing this direction, growing south and growing to the east, that we are going to need another I-229 type corridor that's can accommodate traffic and basically move traffic around the city instead of being focused on 41st Street, the Minnesota Avenues, trying to use a road that is a little higher speed, less access, safer for the public. So then we received a environmental or FHWA approval back in 2002, 2003. Well, then when we got involved, when HCR got involved, it was going to be a corridor preservation because we identified the corridor, the location of it, and we wanted to preserve the corridors, and then as money came available, we could construct that. So at that time, we had some public meetings, and there was a lot of discussion about how that was laid out. More of, is it really designed to accommodate this higher speed traffics and stuff. So then we re-looked at the alignment of it, modified the alignment, and because of that modification, we had to reopen and reevaluate the environmental document. We received approval of that in 2012. And then, like you said, the city and the DOT, South Dakota Department of Transportation, focused more on that northern segment to get that completed. And now we're on the southern segment and working to get that completed.
Yeah, it's been quite a history, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
So with those minor modifications, I remember we just we tweaked some horizontal curves throughout the entire corridor. We also mainly focused on that northern section by the Rice Street and the Wapa Power Station. So there wasn't a whole lot of different for alignment, but it was just kind of tweaking for the entire corridor.
I would say some of the bigger tweaks was the original alignment was really close to the Minnesota and 85th Street intersection, and it would have created us having to put some type of an interchange in to make that work. We wanted to shift that south so we could go with an at-grade intersection, signalized at-grade intersection, and not add that additional cost that really wasn't needed by shifting it.
Okay. So jumping ahead about 6 months, then we started what we say the final design of the entire corridor about in spring of 2021, and it's been a fast race since, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
So you guys did a lot of the surveying work that first year. You did a lot of the property research. Talk a little bit about what it takes from a design standpoint. What do you all have to do that maybe the public doesn't really know you're doing, but you're working on the project?
Yeah. So as you'd mentioned, we had to do survey, a lot of data collection. We needed to get the information, not only just the survey of what's out there, but we also had to do the environmental surveys. We had to identify where the wetlands were located, so we did field surveys on that. We had to identify if there's any cultural sites. More often than not in this area, it's buildings over 50 years old. We have to do evaluation of that. So a lot of it was that, and then when we identified that, as we move forward with our preliminary design and stuff, we modified maybe the slopes or adjusted the median width to reduce those types of impacts.
Okay. So looking forward then, I know we're working on the supplement to the to the approved environmental assessment. It's taken us a little bit longer than what we had originally thought. Do we anticipate that we'll be able to show the environmental assessment to the public yet in 2022?
Yep, our anticipation based on our schedule right now is that we're working with FHWA and the South Dakota Department of Transportation's environmental group on making sure everybody's comfortable with what's in the environmental document, the impacts that we may or may not have. And our plan is to have a public meeting before Thanksgiving, which at that point will release the EA and all of the environmental information that we utilize to develop the environmental document at that time. And that's usually, it's a 30-day comment period where the public can review it and provide us comments. And then once we receive the comments, we will meet back with FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, make sure the comments or we look and discuss those comments. And then our goal is to have an approved document by the end of the year. Perfect.
In anticipation for that first segment from about Western to Cliff Avenue, for that to be bid after the first of the year. So that's our first segment of construction, and a lot of people have asked me, why are you starting there? And with the forward thinking of the DOT hiring you back in 2011 to basically plat all of the right-of-way or have the plats ready for early acquisition, the DOT and the city have been working together on early acquisition for right-of-way since then. So we had a lot of the right-of-way already done, which was great, which is why we're starting there. And And if you look at the area, that's actually the area that's most populated too. So maybe that's the biggest area or the most popular area for people to actually use the corridor once we do get that open. So, you know, also in the last 12 months, we've been meeting with a lot of smaller property owner groups, which I guess have been really beneficial, I think, for the design team to meet with those folks. What do people do if they want to meet with us? I mean, do they just contact your folks, right? And we can get a meeting set up. And we've had, how many meetings do you think we've had so far?
Oh, I know we had 3, 4, probably 6 or 7 different group meetings, and then we had landowner meetings as well.
Sure. So it's not like we're not talking to people. We're trying to get as much information out there as possible.
Correct. That's correct.
All right. Well, we do have a website. Can you tell our viewers where the website is?
Yeah, it's www.southveteransparkway.com, and it's all spelled out, southveteransparkway.com.
And then just a quick overview on the construction time frame per segment.
Yep, so as you had mentioned, the first segment we're looking at is from Western to Cliff Avenue. And that one will be bid, and our goal is right now is February of 2023 for construction in 23 and 24.
Okay.
Then the next segment we're going to go to is basically going west, and we're going to do I-29 over to Western Avenue and tie into the first project. That will be bid in the fall of 24 for fall of 23 for 24-25 construction.
Okay.
And then we'll leapfrog over to Cliff Avenue and go from Cliff to Sycamore for 25, 26, and then the last segment from Sycamore to 57th beginning in 26.
So there's just
2026.
a lot of work to be done with each segment.
A lot of work.
Yeah. So
yes.
well, there certainly will be ample opportunity, folks, for you to stay involved with the entire project. Again, with our southveteransparkway.com website, there's areas for you to sign up for updates as we update the website, along with asking questions along the entire corridor. You know, we have our design team contact information on the website. So please, if you have questions and you want to stay informed, please sign up for those updates. Well, that wraps up for today's show. Steve, thank you so much for that information on South Veterans Parkway.
You're welcome.
And stay tuned, viewers. On the next episode, in about a month or so, we will update on the final status of our construction projects. Stay tuned, and we'll see you on the streets.